Hello and welcome to IGF Studio. I'm Marti Subramaniam. Today, India Global Forum is speaking exclusively to one of Britain's most charitable men. He is the chairman and founder of Children's Investment Fund and also the hedge fund TCI. And Sir Chris Hohn is with us today. Sir Chris, thank you so much for speaking to us. I was mentioning you are one of Britain's most generous philanthropists. Giving comes so naturally to you, so integral to who you are and who you've always been. Where did this philanthropic journey begin? How did it begin and how did it culminate with CIFF?
Started when I was 20 years old. I visited the Philippines for a summer job and saw poverty for the first time, and decided then that if I could ever have the resources, I would want to help disadvantaged people in whatever way I could. And in later life, I became successful in finance, running a fund management company, and started giving my share of profits to endow a charity called the Children's Investment Fund Foundation. And the dream at the start was to be able to give away $100 million. In the end, we've already given away $4 billion in charitable grants. The foundation has another $6 billion. And between the foundation and myself, we're giving away more than $500 million a year in charitable grants in climate change, action, India and Africa.
One of the most philosophies, or one of the most inherent philosophies of CIFF, and it's even on your website, you mentioned, and you've been quoted as saying, it's not about giving grants, it's about solving problems. You're not just going to throw money and solve. Firstly, what does that mean really? Where does that philosophy come from? And how do you integrate that in the work that you do?
Yeah, in my case, I earned the money, and so I value it and want to make sure it's intelligently spent, and in particular, I want to tackle root causes, and not simply symptoms. Treat someone for a disease from dirty water, from drinking dirty water, but if we don't clean up the water, they're going to get reinfected the next day. And so I want to be intelligent about everything we do, so that in the ideal world we can permanently solve problems. So we need to really go back to root causes.
You know, in an era of flashy billionaires, there is cynicism about, oh, what's your motive for giving? Why are they being a philanthropist? What is your motive? Where does this come from? Because it's not tokenism, it's not virtue signaling in your case. So what is it?
Well, I didn't really understand it for most of my life, and where it came from, this desire. And but in recent years, I have come to understand that it's a drive of the soul, and an urge of the soul, and it's not something of the mind. The desire for service is a natural consequence of soul connection. It's a natural urge of the soul, and most of my life I didn't even know what that was, the soul. But recent years I've been taking more of a spiritual path, and I've understood that the soul is not a myth but a reality, and that's what drives me. And in fact, service and doing charitable works is the best way to build soul connection. And the more soul connection you have, the more service you want to do, and it keeps going. And so,
is that where the joy of giving comes from?
Yeah, it is a joy to have to really serve another human being who is struggling or in need in some way, because we are all connected at the level of consciousness. And more than that, we're all divine spiritual beings, and we're something more than an animal. Yeah, and if we realize that there's divinity within everybody, then it's really an honor to be able to serve, the divinity within each of us.
Yeah, you're speaking of spirituality, and I think that tees up my next question about India's because I think that philosophy permeates in India quite a bit about seeing divinity in everything. You have several projects in India.
Yes, many.
Why India?
The scale of the country is massive. The first thing. The second is what we have found is that if you can assist in proving out a concept and provide the evidence, both state and national governments will use evidence and proven ideas and scale them. Whereas in many poorer places in the world, they don't have the money to scale things. And even if they've proved the concept, and they're less data-driven, and so there's a functioning government at state and national level, and we don't always have that in other places. I would have to tell you, we find it very straightforward to work in India. Yeah, and it's businesslike actually.
Yeah.
And so what philanthropy can bring is innovation. And we can help be a first mover and provide technical assistance. That the opportunity to do a lot with a small amount of money is powerful, because that's also another reason why I love to work in India. A small amount of money goes a long way.
Yeah.
And innovation will really be scaled.
Is there something more recent that the foundation is doing that really stands out for you?
Yeah, we have a number of examples of things. We have many projects in India. Safe birth checklists. And turns out in a maternity ward there's about 50 different things that are important to do. From washing hands to having the right antibiotics and tools and many things. And it's too many for people to remember, and a great tool is checklists, as pilots use to take off an airplane, and make sure that that checklist is followed. And we were one of the early funders to prove this out, and subsequently the government has adopted it nationally. Another example is that we're excited about is a skill impact bond for essentially incentivizing skill training centers to train girls and young women, and not just 100% men. And we see this as a very powerful tool for increasing the capital of girls and young women and their skills and their ability to operate in the workforce and empower them. Empowerment is a phrase that's often used in development, and I never really understood what it meant, but now I feel it's increasing this connection of a person to their soul and their joy, and when a girl can have a skill, have a proper education, and be independent and not have an opportunity to decide, does she work, does she marry, have freedom of choice, the empowerment and the joy that gives, and the agency a young woman is very beautiful to see. And so we think the skill impact bonds, where you get paid only for performance, is proving out a model where I think it has this huge untapped potential of women and young girls to enter the workforce, but they need training. And we've worked on climate change, technical assistance to governments in various states on electric vehicle rollouts and charging infrastructure. And that's another big area. Climate change is really impacting everyone around the world, and particularly, hot countries such as India are right in the firing line of climate change. Major area. Girls' education. We were active in promoting adoption of Udaan, which is a cash benefit for girls to go to secondary school, and just simple frictions of getting girls to open bank accounts and help them register. Yeah. Migrant applications for government benefits where they, because of literacy issues or no information, they don't access benefits. That's another powerful tool that we work in. And so I would say we're very active in healthcare interventions and helping with new ideas to improve efficiency of low birth weight, reducing low birth weight just going back to the safe birth checklist. That resulted in 10 to 15% reduction in neonatal deaths. So very, very powerful, very measurable outcomes. And so what we really love in India is that we can partner with governments. Often it starts at the state level. States like Rajasthan have frequently been our partner, and then move to other states after proof of concept has been done, and also national adoption. And so, government can often need help with innovation and technical assistance, and that's
they are
where
receptive. So why
they're
not?
receptive. That's right. That's a great word of why we like to work in India. There's a professionalism and a receptivity. And there's another thing that we do find is philanthropy is emerging in India. It's not yet as developed in other places, and so there's a gap in the market for philanthropy. We would love to work with.
Well, I think that's
Indian
where people like you
philanthropies
also come into the picture, right? You serve as an inspiration for so many other people. So when we started off, the first question, you said you had a dream, and you've not just achieved that dream, you far exceeded that dream. So what's the next dream? What's the next target?
I want every child in the world to have a fulfilled, healthy life, where they're not malnourished, where they have a quality education, and they can grow up safely and without pollution, and live a life of joy. It's really, so my first love was always children, because you can see the purity of the soul so much more clearly in a child. But I think until my whole life is to serve humanity, and that's in whatever form is needed: health, education, and child protection. And also climate change. It's the biggest problem on the planet today, and we have a great urgency. And so I'd say the biggest and most important thing to tackle for everybody today is climate change, and because we're not, as a world, doing anything like the changes and the speed of change that we need to. And the impact is going to become devastating if the world doesn't quickly make the deep changes in every sector of commerce and transport.
Well, it's an ominous note to end on, but one I think that we need, something we should never lose sight of on what we're all striving towards. Chris Hohn, thank you so much for speaking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.